لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. And when you have finished off, completed your more physical, material, earthly responsibilities, connections, needs, now watch for the truth that prevails at all. Now desire to be at one with the one. Now have that urgency to be with your Lord. وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ, your Lord. So it's very simple, but there are two of you. One is your earthly side, the animal side, the human side, which has been drifting in nature on this tiny earth for billions of years. And you and I and all other entities with life and consciousness have emerged from that drift. You can't deny that. This is all what we start with. You have to address that. You have to address humanity. Otherwise you can't come as a semi-majdoob idiot, or God intoxicated as they call it, and cause havoc. Not on. Be responsible as a human. Be accountable as a human. Otherwise there will be utter chaos and the earth will be in every way destroyed. We're doing a very good job of that, but not quite. So now, all what I really want to share is that what is the foundation of it. There are always twos. Except that unique origin that we call the ever one, the eternal one. And that's it. We start trying to make sense with the twos. This is up, this is down, this is night, this is day, this is ill, this is well. This is friendly, this is enemy. Trying to be in the middle so as you can cope with them better. If you're at one extreme, you can't cope well. If you're in the middle of the road, you can maneuver better. Otherwise, you're on the edge. You have less of a chance to be saved from falling into the abyss. So most world religions and paths to awakening to the purpose of life talk about middle path. Quran does, Ummatan Wasata, Buddhism, all of them. Middle, meaning between the infinite, unknown, light of lights, heavens, and earth, which is solid, appears to be solid. All of it is drifting, nothing is ever fixed. As soon as it appears, it is subject to the comings and goings, birth and death. Once you get that basic map, then day-to-day difficulties, crises will not overwhelm you. Because the real you, as one side of it, is light of lights, is timeless, is divine, and the other side is a creature which is born from few cells connected together, and it carries traces of the genes and other things, and until it's born, then the culture begins to take its effect. A very short journey between birth and death. But this journey, if you manage to reflect upon it, stop for a while, enter into the zone of sublime prayers, then you find it is founded upon a reality that is not subject to comings and goings. It is that reality that gives you boundless security, certainty, joy, trust, freedom, if you like to use that word. That's all what it is. The rest is a lot of cultural habits and value judgments. And the reason we do this is to reconfirm what we know. All of us will judge. You cannot but judge. Also, if you are serious, you cannot but give up your judgment. So you enter again into the neutrality. That's all what it is. That doesn't require more than 5 minutes. But here each one of you is given, or assumed to have been given, years and years and years and years to come. How do you know? You're hanging on air. There isn't that urgency for most people. Say, not now. Now I have to do this. Now I have to do that. I now need to wash my hair, or worse, to color it, or this, whatever it is. For how many years do you care for this stupid animal? That is, as it is born, it's decaying. You must laugh at yourself. Already most of us are a laughing stock anyway. And I sometimes look at the domestic animals, the cats or a dog, looking at each other, wondering, what on earth are these people doing in the house? Really? Running from here to there, and they also know it's all because they want to get the best cat food. And every year or so, there are more luxurious cat food because they feel guilty, so they go to the ultimate luxury of this and that. So, no, my cat needs 3 cans a day because once I open it, they want a fresh one. Because they like the click of the opening of the can. Really, we must laugh at ourselves. We are hideous. That hideousness hides, camouflages an entity that is light upon light. All of our desire for beauty, majesty, quality, all of them are tiny little emanations from that which is beyond perfection. If you touch that zone deliberately, if you are able to, then you are saving yourself from your lower self. And the more you calibrate, the Quran describes that, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. Those who are in their salat, perpetual. It's not that you're standing up and down all the time. It's that how can you forget the origin or source of life in you? How can you forget that? That's all what there is. The so-called forgetfulness is an aspect of the mind. Mind is an invention of that. So here you are walking around a museum of idols and objects, artifacts. Oh, look at that, this is so old. Well, what does it mean? If you go to any serious museum, you find the most important thing the museum tries to convey to you is how early on, whenever there were small settlements anywhere, beginning of agriculture a few thousand years ago, they were concerned about a higher consciousness, a God of gods, deity, so as they can focus on that. If it is for fertility, it requires a different notion of flavor. It's different also from that if you're looking for safety crossing the ocean, and on and on and on. So that's why there was a plethora of secondary gods. And there often was God of gods. Nobody could talk about Allah or many other names often have the same sort of breath in it, Yahweh, and so on. So we are the same, wanting to be reassured about timelessness. That reassurance comes from parents, from friends, from preachers, from teachers, until such times you go past it. There is only that. Then when you know that, which is La ilaha illallah, then the echo of it is Muhammadan Rasulullah, a means. Muhammad is not the only one. From wherever you're born, if you really go into the system or into the religion or whatever else you have inherited, go into it, you come to the same point. Absoluteness. The mind cannot comprehend it. The mind is relative. It's in the middle between physical, animal, material, and the higher spirit in you. So it cannot comprehend that which is absolute. There's no point in pontificating about it unless you want to impress somebody. There is only that. But the absolute can only be imbibed, known, returned to by will through the relative. Is more powerful, more potent, more wealthy, more until when? Where is it that which is beyond the limits of anything? That is what we are seeking. Once you know that that is a new, different zone, if you like, if you are a bit interested in mediocre science, you call it now quantum. Everything has become popular. Everybody uses, especially religious preachers, they want to be modern. So they always invent or use 20, 30, 50 of these terms all the time, to show how modern they are, how educated. It's a bit of a fashion. Until 30, 40 years ago, if you were at all pretending to be in science or in rationality, you wouldn't mention the word God. Now it's beginning to be all right. Another 20 years would probably be very fashionable. And they will also give us some nuances. So, we are, as human beings, caught in space and time, and our origin is not conditioned by space and time. And that's what we all want, the unconditionality of that light of lights. And that is why everyone, no matter who they are, they talk about hope, pray for freedom, emancipation. There are thousands of different levels of emancipation. One is from disease, from pain, from this, from hunger, from oppression, from abuse, and. Where is it going to lead you? So go to that now. You want to have 50 lifetimes to battle against this injustice and that injustice. It's not a bad thing, but you've wasted your life. And you're still not content. You're not cheerful. You're not joyful. You're not ready to leave your body. You're still scared. You're still uncertain. It's not good enough. You want to have access to a zone that is beyond certainty, without denying the zone of humanity which is full of uncertainty. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. How do you deny this? They are seamlessly connected. Humanity and divinity seamlessly connected. But you will not enter into that vastness of beyond perfection of divinity unless you have been struggling genuinely with your humanity to reduce the animal's requirement in you, so that they are at least being looked after, cared, fed, put in the zoo, and don't lose the key. He said, I put the scorpions in the thing, but I lost the key. Please don't do that. Because they need to be fed, otherwise they go into the underground and breed and come out. No hiding place. The Quran reminds us repeatedly, أين المفر? Where do you run to? You may hide for a little bit under makeup, under this, under that. Hijab is a good thing, especially as they get older, much better. Cover it, really. When they are 20-year-old, no hijab. We don't get that. It's all against hijab. Oh, no. Once they are in their 60s, 70s, very good. Have double hijab. No, that's fine. You must laugh. This is who we are. Why? One of the attributes called beauty. Beauty implies harmony. Harmony implies nice flow and connectedness. We are all caught in that web of the beautiful attributes. That's as simple as that. Look at all the beautiful divine names, and you find every now and then one of them comes up as the dominant. Sing that song and stay with it, and that's all. Until you enter into harmony. There is no longer sound. It's no longer even flavor. There's a perfect flow. Most animals and insects know it. There is a sudden change in the electromagnetic field or in the gamma ray radiation, whatever, and they change. They disappear. Or they enter into a very virulent breeding season or die. This is our tiny little earth. Think what is happening in the universe. What about the cosmos? Countless universes. And here we quarrel with each other. You have intruded on my property, especially if you go to these mega cities. 10 centimeters into my garden. Oh my God. Because the concentration has been on pure power via money. So it's all money. Everything else is lost. You can't talk about humanity. As for light, forget it. You can't. Who are you talking to? They're completely obsessed and caught into their own little miserable world. So that's why every 2 hours they go and repaint their nails and then poison themselves with all kinds of chemicals and acetones and so on. And they say this is less dangerous than the other chemicals. Well, it's not the chemicals that is wrong, it's our abuse of it. When the Second World War finished, there were these enormous chemical factories producing all the poisonous gas. And something like 20% in the case of Britain, 25% maybe, employment was there in these factories. So what are you going to do? If you are a man in politics, well, you're going to have all of these people unemployed. So fertilizers came in. Fertilizer, and then also they were all scared. What about lack of food, Malthus and all of that population? So within 20 years, a most dangerous explosion of unpredictable outcome came about. A lot of food, a lot of population. In less than 120 years, from 1 billion to nearly 8 billion. Plenty of food, especially in the poorer countries. You see. In the richer countries, they want to spend more time on their cosmetics and so on. So 2 children, or 2.6. My preference is actually 1.9, but that's something else. So, but in the poorer countries, they just, breed like rabbits. That's why. So, poor Japan, they have to import a lot of these people now, because of the old age. There was nobody to look after them. Candlelight. I lit my candle for the day, then lit another for yesterday and for other days, where darkness prevailed. Like every day and night, a lonely candle fluttered and shared some light, brought to remind the living ones that light produces shadows and illusions. Light is the origin and is the destiny. And all shadows are reminders of suffering and distractions. As for now, light more candles. Please light more candles until what remains flickering lights that dance like human souls, illumined and illuminating, surrounded by shadows. I take the silence that you liked it, so I'm going to give you another one. This is my Shulla Qalamkar. I promised you I'll give you a nice, wholesome soup with it all kinds of ingredients. Lasting contentment. You will never be truly content. How can we ever stop at any limit? How can little be enough? You are driven to go beyond bounds, where home was before being earthbound, and the drive to be content is relentless and futile in this home. How can you accept limitations whilst questing boundlessness, suspended between changes and the constant, and the elusive pursuit of confused humans with a soul from divine light, ever perfect, whilst giving rise to all shades of darkness and distractions, illumined by the one and only one. So all of your quests, whether it is sleeping, eating, helping, and any of your other emotions, pleased, angry, all of them express a subtler state of consciousness in you that is based on these dualities. And that tells you who you are. You don't need to ask people's biography. Just let them say one word. One word. And go into the intonation. Go into the inner sounds of that. You know who they are. Then you see the majority of people are actually uncertain. That's healthy to be uncertain. Everything begins with doubt and uncertainty. And if it is to do with the realm of duality, then it will remain in doubt and uncertainty. But if it has a certain notion about destiny, which is unitive and one, then that uncertainty moves along the ladder where its destiny is the same as its origin, beyond limits of space and time. Utter perfection. Then you come back here again and you say, oh no, there are others, but you are not responsible for them. You were born alone, you'll die alone. In the meantime, if you have awakened to the real you, then you put things in perspective. Otherwise, every little thing is a crisis. Every little thing. I assure you, even here in this hall, if you go to everyone and say, you really have had difficulties, I guarantee you 100%, if the person you are questioning is honest, they tell you yes. How did you know? Because I know me also, I'm the same. Put things in perspective. So of course, it doesn't matter. I am breathing in and breathing out, good and bad, day and night, born and die. So of course, it is challenging. You don't need to be genius or no. I tell you, I assure you, if you really want to appear as being very special and clever, go to anyone from this, the break. I think you do have breaks all the time. But we have breaks without breaking the nafs, without breaking the ego. No, that's all what you know. So you really have had a very tough year. Somebody knows. And if it is a lady, especially in her middle ages or coming thereabout, so you have really not been appreciated. 40 on. Because that is the age, which is maintenance. By the time it's 50, half of the time is between dentist and the, or whatever. So by the time they're 60s, be sure, you really had you were giving all your life, and you truly have not been appreciated. So suddenly they say, oh my God, there's somebody discovered me, not Bollywood, but there's some. Laugh at it. This is who we are. It is the same blueprint. It is differentiated sameness. Doesn't matter what background, what color, skin, religion, it's the same. 2,000 years ago, even a slight difference in the tribal pattern, whatever, it was not the same. Shoot them, kill them. And we moved on and on and on. And in 1 century, mostly the last century and a bit before and a bit maybe after, we caused the death of over 1 billion people. Why? Because of the armament industry become the biggest. Since the 50s, it had become the biggest industry in most of the so-called first world. A lot of these names and you can turn them upside down. First can be the bottom. First world, producing armament, producing gas, producing killer this, killer that, and exporting it on credit, of course, to countries that are barely able to sustain even the middle class that is hardly beginning to exist there. So, have you come across any year in your lifetime that there were not atrocious abusiveness and warfare between poor people? Look what's right now. Didn't exist maybe a month ago, but right now, as of a month ago, there are 6 new wars going on. The latest being between India and Pakistan. Imported aircrafts that they cannot even handle them. That obsolescence is also ingrained in their equipments. And here we say we are very civilized. We have United Nations. What United Nations meaning what? Simply to be manipulated by the people who have designed and invented it. Maybe with some goodwill. But where is the reference? There is no reference to the ultimate. That's how it ended up. Being a mockery of so-called liberal democracy, a mockery of so-called human values, a mockery of so-called family values. I don't know what that means. Lie upon lie upon lie upon lie. One of my main entertainment is looking at the old National Geographic magazine, especially if they were in the 30s and 40s. By the time you are in the 50s, it's gone. There you have the wife with few curlers and things standing in the door, and the husband who is harassed because he's an insurance agent or some executive, and his new car. They're huge, long, about 10 meters or whatever it is, and a guzzler of petrol, and saying goodbye to him, you know, honey, have a nice memory. So everybody said, this is what it is. And of course, something like 5% of the population had this myth of the nice family. And usually those magazines had the advent, the beginning of the emergence of the corporate beverage entities, especially Coca-Cola, especially appearing as Father Christmas. Don't know if you... Anyway, these are part of the things I enjoy, much more than talking to people or sitting around. Really, I mean that. Now, the last one is called The Real. You know, what I write is real, because I'm privileged in having a beautiful place a bit outside. And few of you who have come, you know what I'm talking about. And I try to discourage people coming. Initially, early on, I thought maybe I'll institute a way of blindfolding those who come, so they don't know where they are. But not easy, because they have to drive. I am privileged in writing, seeing things as they are, real. So I'm not a poet, I'm not concocting these things. This is genuine. And this happened about a month ago. There was a wall somewhere in Highwood. It's been there since, actually, we built it. I built it 20 odd years ago. It has suddenly decided to fall. That was the morning of it. The wall collapsed this morning. Enough standing up alone. Back to earth from where it arose. A cycle of emanation and return. Confusing mind with desires, fears, and sorrows. Connecting with mirrors, reflecting the light of origins. Perpetually there, but apparently absent due to the mind's absurd presumptions, until one accepts time and non-time, celebrating the cosmic truth and absolute presence with no absence ever. So that is the story. That is your story. That's everybody's story. You don't need to listen to anybody else. Just stop listening to your silly mind. Stop listening to all of the noises you've heard, which you and I and everyone desires to leave behind in good, deep sleep. The best of sleeps is death. So why not practice it? And you come back and you say, oh, I was quarreling with the neighbor. And who is the I? You laugh, you find you're able then to put things in perspective. Putting things in perspective meaning referring to the absolute, referring to God, if you have such notions, referring to Yahuwah, Allah, whatever you call it, which is absolute. Then you come back, oh yes, I wound myself because over so many periods of time and repetition and so on, they were really nasty, they were not very nice. So who appointed you as being the judge of the world? Care for your own immediate thing, that's fine. That's correct. Because you try to be in balance, but now suddenly you've taken it upon you that you are now the ultimate supreme just of. Look at the legal professions. Most of it is laughable. Even the top in that hierarchy, they don't know what they're doing. They're trying their best to establish a modicum of some sort of order. That's all. And many of them in their own lives, there is a lot of disorder. As you know, a child where he's had his mother abused likes to be a policeman or the top judge, because that's what it is, you know. Or if you have grown up in poverty, whatever, you like to be very wealthy. So you struggle and end up being indebted to the banks up to here. And then you say the capitalist system is a very unjust. Who told you to enter it? Because you were tempted, you were greedy, you wanted to have power, you wanted to play God. So stop blaming anyone. Laugh at yourself. Really. So we human beings, all of us, are made up of an earthly, discernible, semi and materialistic element with a lot of energy levels in it. Without the neurons you have, a few billion of them, nearly half of them are in your guts, you won't be considered as human. But if there isn't that light in you, as the spirit of the unseen, that's why so many people also think that we are aliens. Of course we are aliens. I feel very much alien everywhere, all the time. Really. Suddenly I wake up in the morning and say, what on earth are you doing here? I say, well, it's not bad. The temperature is not bad. And so far I have not had any stone thrown at me. So it may be okay. One more day, put up with it. So you bribe yourself. It's not too bad. If I change this husband, I've changed 7 of them already. That one is worse than the other. Also, as you get older, you become more and more specific, you see. So it's nearly impossible. I mean, it's all right to maybe you can change husbands or wives until you're about 30, 35, but by then, you know, you're very particular about the way you want your coffee, or how hot is the cup to be, or how much you put in the sprinklers, or whatever. It's impossible, Baba. Really. So laugh at yourself. And if you're fortunate, and I haven't found many, but if you're really fortunate, then you can have several periods during the day that you just reduce yourself to nothing and see what comes to you. See what comes to you from the unseen. I do that very often. But this morning I really felt very much like wanting croissant. So I had to beg for a croissant. But generally I try to say, no, wait. And sometimes it arrives. Not this morning. But I asked for it, and then so many croissants arrived. I could really invite, if I'm foolish enough, invite you all, and there'll be enough. But so you need to practice many a time. Don't ask for anything, just wait. There is nothing, fine. Suddenly you find a bird comes and tells you something. From nowhere it comes and scratches and takes its lunch, looks at you and jumps out. Are you not better than the bird? We are too much in a rush. We don't know how to stop time. We don't know how to jump out of time, out of space, into the infinite reality of your own inner light, your own soul. That is where your nourishment lies. Outer nourishment is the food and the provision and the other foods, hundreds of different provisions, emotional nourishment, other nourishment, and then ultimately you realize all of it is spiritual. If there are crises in the world, as there are, more and more complex, economic crisis, political crisis, abusiveness, bribery crisis, it is essentially emanating from spiritual crisis. We're not living the map whom we are. You are a spirit on a journey. It is not the other way around. A body with a soul. No. It is a soul or spirit caught for a while, incarcerated, imprisoned for a while, in a material encasement. That's why we all love to know what is beyond, what is few millions of miles away, millions and billions, before time. How did it all begin? So our scientists who are micro, it's like saying, divide this piece of food into half. And go on, divide it into half, divide it into half. Where will it end? Where is the final division of the half? Same thing with time. Nanosecond, Papa, until where is the division within the second? It goes into another zone. And that's why everybody says, no, wait for the quantum computer. We're all the time looking for some salvation. And therefore also superfood. Every 6 months there is some superfood which is often becoming now ridiculous nonsense. Superfood, you go and pay 10 times as much and there's nothing in it as more as, really. So I am subjected to the same thing because I'm living here at this time and I'm supposed to be with few people who are reading their stupid women magazine because it's the main source of education now. Women, whatever it is, because men don't have an education anyway. So they don't really, they just go to the office and appear pompous. Only they become semi-human when they come home and the wife gives them a clobber. Or say, you forgot this, especially if it is emotional. You forgot it's my birthday, my mother's birthday, my grandmother's birthday. So quite one of the few things I did wise. Early on, I warned everybody, I don't celebrate any birthday because with birth comes death. So that they negate each other, so please excuse me. So temporarily I've been spared most of my life from. Otherwise, you're all the time looking for a situation that is stable. Not this half is bigger than the other half. No. Constant. We're all the same. You're looking for that which is the source of your looking. Who gave you this idea that you are searching or you are a good person? Who gave you the idea of what is a decent being? From where did it come? Who gave you the idea that this is disruptive, evil, and will cause, the end of humanity, or the sixth, extinction? We are doing a very good job with that. I think we have been immensely successful in destroying humanity. And instead of destroying the myth of your ego, we're destroying the entire edifice in the name of development and progress in the first world. First world meaning you love to be on the golf course all day, chasing a little plastic ball. This is the ultimate in human endeavor. He's very successful. He's so successful that he doesn't have to do anything in his world and so on, etc. He's on the golf course all the time. be buried there already. So, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, the more value you give to the food you eat, the more your value is what is the outcome of it. Look, in the last 40, 50 years, the biggest successes have been in the restaurant business. Why? Because the people can't get on together. How can a husband and wife after 30 years face each other eating a meal? It's terrible. Really? And also, usually we have the same habits. So if you are given to spilling or whatever, or having too much salt, oh my God, how much salt? So we go to the restaurant. We go to the restaurant. Thank God for the restaurants, for you to be saved the tyranny of abusiveness of this so-called couple. They're a nice couple. Yeah, I've seen their photograph. Nice. Stick to the photograph. Don't go near, because you will discover what a myth it has been. And of course, the older you get, the more you look for the younger photographs, because it's more charming. Who are you trying to charm? So, laugh at the nafs and don't totally ignore it. Every now and then, he says, yes, you're right. Myself like this. Yes, thank you. They acknowledged me. Yes, so the ego is still there a bit. Fine. Then laugh at it and move on. There's a beautiful Sufi story, because I think some of you call yourself Sufis. So there's a story about Junaid, who was considered to be the master of the Baghdadi school of Sufism. And he had wonderful followers. And at that time, like many other cities and places in the world, there is an up and there is a down. Baghdad was at the peak. So there were a few hundred wonderful people of quality, seekers. And Junaid was a bit late, so his favorite student was Junaid. Standing up, they asked him to say something, a bit of tafsir usually. So he was saying something and so on, and it went into his head. So that happens with most teachers and their pupils. It's a big danger. Yeah. So I go take a diversion. This fellow had a teacher who had married to the most obnoxious woman in the whole country. Really the most absolutely obnoxious woman. She would only swear at everyone. So his favorite student, after a few years, asked his sheikh, he said, do you mind if I represent you? I want to go to other town, 200 kilometers to the south, and with your permission. He said, yes, go. So this fellow disappears. After 6 months, comes at night running away from justice. He's killed his wife. So he comes to his teacher. He says, look, I have nowhere to go. You must hide me. I killed my wife. He said, what happened? He said, well, because you had married the most obnoxious woman in the whole country, I went to that town and I asked, who is the obnoxious woman in this town? So I married her. And I couldn't take it. After 6 months, I had to kill her. So the sheikh turns to him and said, you idiot, but you're not me. This happens most of the time. People around, they pretend that. They put the same tasbih, the same thing. That's why I never wear the same thing twice. To confuse them. So this fellow, Junaid, comes in, sees Shibli, his student, pontificating, quite full of himself. So, of course, he comes in, so everybody pays attention. So he says, I hope you do not take seriously the nonsense he has been sharing. Now, Shibli loves Junaid. He's his favorite student. So his tail goes between, we're all monkeys, so his tail goes between his thing and leaves quietly. And then he turns around to them all. He said, I saved him by the shield of my insult from the arrows of arrogance and self-deceit. So watch out. Be careful. You are not he or she or it. You have some silly biography that's a bit different. But in truth, you are all the same. Aspiring, hoping, praying, crying, in desperation to be at one with the one. We are all obsessed, but that obsession can fall into a whole encyclopedia of obsessions. Every one of us is obsessed, and if you do not know you are obsessed with the light of lights, then you become obsessed with perfecting this, perfecting. That's why, especially the warfare in domestic homes, especially in the kitchen that's being shared by the mother-in-law and the wife. Impossible. It's a recipe for disaster. Because it's obsession with, I do it this way. It's your cockpit. You want to know exactly what. We are all obsessional. If you don't realize that is primal, you're obsessed with the light in you. It becomes obsession with this and that and career and justice and husband and kids, education or whatever. Watch out, watch out, watch out. Good luck to you all. Do I need to say anything more? Thank you. Goodbye.